Niels Henrik Abel died at the age of 26, poor and unknown. In 1826, he presented an astounding paper to the French Academy of Sciences, but it was lost, misplaced, probably buried under a messy desk or in a cabinet somewhere. After his death, they found it and realized he had made one of the greatest contributions in math. This is the heartbreaking story of the brilliant mathematician the world ignored until it was too late. To understand where Abel came from, we have to go back to the beginning. Abel was born on August 5, 1802 on the island of Finnøy in Norway. His father, Søren, was a pastor and a progressive thinker who championed smallpox vaccination when it was controversial and pushed for education for all. He surrounded Niels with books and ideas, but there was only so much he could teach his children. He had planned to send his eldest son Hans to the cathedral school in Kristiania, modern-day Oslo. But when Hans fell ill, 13-year-old Niels took his place. Sending him there was a struggle for his family. Søren wrote, "There is nothing left but milk and gruel and milk for my remaining family." Still, he refused to give up. "I will pay with the shirt off my back. My children are my all." Eventually, Niels' tuition was waived. His first math teacher, Hans Petter Bader, was terribly cruel. He beat his students regularly. One boy, Henrik Stoltenberg, was so badly beaten that he died a week later. Bader was fired. His replacement changed Abel's life. Bernd Mikkel Holmboe immediately recognized Abel's genius. Holmboe later wrote, "He quite probably, if he lives, shall become one of the great mathematicians." In fact, he had written the world's greatest mathematician before crossing it out. Holmboe arrived at the right moment, just as Abel's world was beginning to collapse at home. His father's reputation crumbled. Søren's theological writings emphasized reason and moral education over strict religious doctrine, downplaying the devil and original sin, clashing with conservative Lutheran views. Then came a satirical article mocking the Swedish monarchy while he served in parliament. All of this happened amid the devastation from the Napoleonic Wars. Surrounded by chaos, mathematics became Niels Abel's refuge. Holmboe guided him through the greats, Gauss, Euler, and his personal idol, Lagrange. Lagrange had spent years wrestling with one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of math, finding a general formula to solve fifth-degree equations known as the Quintic. While mathematicians had long been able to solve quadratic equations using elegant and straightforward formulas, the same could not be done for quintic equations, where x is raised to the power of 5. No one was able to find a general formula involving only square roots and basic operations. Just as Abel took on the challenge, his world shattered. In May 1820, his father died suddenly, and he didn't make it home in time for the funeral. The funeral itself was a scandal. His mother, Anne-Marie, got drunk and slept with a servant. When her family confronted her the next day, she simply said the servant had promised never to leave me. With 4 younger siblings, an alcoholic mother, and a mountain of debt left by his father, Abel's future looked bleak. It was by the grace of those who saw his potential that the Royal Frederick University, now the University of Oslo, granted him a free room, allowing him to attend in 1821. Some professors even chipped in monthly to help him get by. He shared a cramped room with his brother Peter and another student. He and Peter only owned one set of bed sheets, and when they were being washed, they slept without any. As Avril Stubhaug, author of the biography Niels Henrik Abel and His Times, writes, "Most of the time, he sat in the completely wretched surroundings of his room and studied on his own." He graduated in just 1 year, scoring mediocre in all subjects except for an excellent in math. Yet, for all his math brilliance, he couldn't land a job. He was so poor and desperate that his former professor, Christopher Hanstein, took him in for a time. With no prospects and nowhere to turn, he clung to a single belief, that he could solve the unsolvable. The general quintic equation that had stumped mathematicians for nearly 300 years. He had been asking himself, how can you find a general formula to solve fifth-degree equations? But as he intensely focused on the problem, over time he started wondering, can you find a general formula to solve fifth-degree equations? For centuries, mathematicians had assumed a formula had to exist, and they just hadn't found it yet. Well, Abel proved a revolutionary truth. There is no general formula that solves every fifth-degree equation, not with just addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or roots. It doesn't mean quintic equations can't be solved, just that there's no one-size-fits-all method. His discovery changed the way we think about what mathematics can and cannot do. In 1824, he self-published his proof at his own expense and had to condense it down to 6 pages as he couldn't afford to print more than that. But this made it harder for mathematicians to grasp the full depth of his ideas. Still, Professor Hansteen sent it to the German-Danish astronomer and mathematician Heinrich Christian Schumacher, who recognized its promise and passed it along to the legendary Karl Gauss. But Gauss ignored it. Stubhag writes, Gauss had not even bothered to read his treatise on the fifth-degree equation and had merely mumbled something or other about still another of these eternal attempted solutions, and that one day he, Gauss, would demonstrate a solution to the fifth-degree equation himself. Exasperated at Gauss's non-response, Abel wrote to Hansteen, "He is absolutely inaccessible." The only one who seemed to believe in him was the mathematician August Leopold Crelle, whom Abel met in Berlin while traveling across Europe on a government-funded grant. Crelle didn't understand Abel's proof and encouraged him to expand it. So Abel began drafting a longer, clearer version, which Crelle published in the first issue of his new mathematics journal. Still, it didn't bring Abel any recognition or fame. Coming from Norway, a country not recognized then for advanced mathematics, Abel struggled to gain the respect his work deserved. Unwilling to give up, he traveled to the heart of the math world. I have finally arrived at the focus of all my mathematical desires, in Paris. While in Paris, he worked on what many consider the crown jewel of his career, a groundbreaking paper on transcendental functions. Functions that can't be solved with basic algebra, such as exponential, logarithmic, and trigonometric functions. Abel believed his work was strong, possibly his best yet. In a letter to Hombo, he wrote in French, "Et j'ose dire, sans vanter, que c'est un bon travail." I dare say with all modesty, it is good. He submitted his paper, now known as his Paris Memoir, to the French Academy of Sciences on October 30, 1826, hoping to impress the two most influential mathematicians in France, Cauchy and Legendre. Abel waited and waited for a response. Weeks passed, then months, and nothing. Neither of them bothered to read his paper. Stubhag writes, Abel's manuscript lay around at Cauchy's, and Cauchy, having both his head and his desk crammed with his own epoch-making projects, put Abel's to one side. So why didn't Abel follow up with them? It seems like the natural thing to do. He didn't because he was afraid of being a nuisance. He wrote to Hombo about how the French mathematical community was cold and unapproachable. It is impossible to come into a more intimate acquaintance with him, and I dare not count on such occurring. Everyone works by himself here, without bothering others. Alone in a foreign city, bitterly disappointed, and falling ill with tuberculosis, he eventually returned to Norway in 1827. He dreamed of a permanent professorship, but a temporary post at the Royal Frederick University in Oslo was all he could get. He tutored to survive. He was so poor that he lamented, "I shall arrive so empty that I will have to set the collection plate in front of the church door." He later moved to a quiet industrial site in southern Norway where his fiancée Christine Kemp was working as a governess. They had met years earlier during a summer he spent with his aunt and uncle in Copenhagen, likely at a dinner party. As death approached, he is said to have shouted, "I am struggling for my life." Abel died on April 6, 1829. He was just 26 years old. 2 days later, Crelle, who didn't know he had passed, sat down to write a letter sharing the good news Abel had waited his whole life to hear, that he'd been offered a permanent professor post at the University of Berlin. "Now, my dear precious friend, I can bring you good news. The Ministry of Education has decided to call you to Berlin and employ you here. You shall be among us, and that is a certainty. Be of good courage and rest completely assured. You are coming to a good country, a better climate, closer to science, and to genuine friends who regard you highly and are very fond of you." Only after his death did Legendre finally read Abel's Paris Memoir and recognize it was a masterpiece. Author Stubhag writes, Legendre must have felt somewhat embarrassed, for he now tried to look into the matter and acknowledged in a letter to the German mathematician Jacobi on April 8th that it was correct. Abel had submitted a paper in the autumn of 1826 that Cauchy had kept it, but that he now had urged Cauchy to be allowed to see it. Eventually, Cauchy found the forgotten memoir. Abel died poor and unrecognized. In his obituary, Crelle wrote, "Il a sacrifié sa vie pour la science, sans songer à sa propre conservation. He sacrificed his life for science, without thought for his own preservation. The very mathematics Abel developed would one day power the CT scan, a life-saving tool that might have detected the illness that took his life. Genius isn't always recognized in its time, but truth, like mathematics, endures. Today, the highest honor in mathematics, the Abel Prize, bears his name. Niels Henrik Abel is no longer forgotten. If you'd like to explore the very ideas Abel was working on, Brilliant is the perfect place to learn interactively. Brilliant's newly updated math courses help you build a strong foundation in algebra, calculus, and vectors. Their lessons are so intuitive that it doesn't even feel like you're studying. It's way better than passively watching videos. There's something for you no matter your interests, including scientific thinking, programming, data science, and artificial intelligence. You can learn how to code with programming with Python, one of the most popular programming languages, and build your skills really quickly. One of my favorites is How AI Works, where you can explore how AI models learn to manipulate features, like adding a smile to a face, or understand how chatbots like ChatGPT generate human-like language. The best part is you can try Brilliant for free for 30 days by signing up at brilliant.org/newsthink or scanning the QR code on your screen. That's brilliant.org/newsthink. The link is in the description. And if you use my custom link, you'll also save 20% on an annual premium subscription, unlocking all of the courses. Thanks for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.